It was an event that rocked Hollywood and left audiences stunned, an explosive confrontation on the spotlight between cinematic legend Robert Redford and provocative host Joy Behar. A beloved icon adored by millions for his charisma and dedication to art, Redford appeared on the show to promote his new film and discuss his charitable foundations supporting Ukraine. But no one was prepared for how an innocent interview would spiral into a dramatic showdown. Joy Behar, notorious for her sharp tongue and relentless questions, turned the conversation into a battlefield of personal attacks. This moment went down in history as one of the most intense on air. Watch until the end to find out how it all unfolded, and share your thoughts in the comments. The Spotlight studio buzzed with anticipation, as if a storm were brewing. Blinding spotlights flooded the stage, and the audience, holding their breath, awaited the star's entrance. Robert Redford, a Hollywood icon, stepped in with effortless grace, silver hair, a warm smile, and an elegant khaki suit. His reputation for integrity and sincerity preceded him. Across from him sat Joy Behar, her cold smile and piercing gaze betraying her intent. She was setting a trap. The audience whispered, producers backstage exchanged nervous glances, sensing the evening promised surprises. The tension hung in the air, ready to erupt. "Robert, welcome to the spotlight!" Joy Behar leaned forward, her voice sweet but laced with a hint of sarcasm. "Your new film sounds exciting, but let's talk about something more important. Your foundation for Ukraine. You're so passionate about this cause. Tell us, why does it matter to you?" Redford smiled, his eyes sparkling with warmth. "I've always believed that art and humanity go hand in hand. My foundation, Light of Hope, supports Ukrainian families affected by the war. We fund humanitarian projects, rebuild schools, and provide medical aid. It's my way of giving back to the world that's given me so much." The audience applauded, but Joy raised a hand, silencing them. Her smile widened, but grew colder. "That all sounds very noble, Robert. But you know, some say these foundations are just a pretty wrapper for, let's say, less noble endeavors. What do you say to that?" Redford tilted his head slightly, his brows furrowing. "I'm not sure what you're getting at, Joy," he said calmly. "My foundation is transparent, all reports are public. We help people who need it." "Transparent?" Joy raised an eyebrow, her tone sharpening. "There are rumors that your charitable funds aren't going where you say they are. Some sources hint at, how should I put it, financial schemes. Care to comment?" The audience gasped, a murmur rippling through the room. Redford's lips tightened, his face remaining composed, but a flash of anger crossed his eyes. "That's a serious accusation, Joy," he replied quietly but firmly. "And it's baseless. I don't play those games. My goal is to help, not to grandstand." The audience stirred again, some clapping, but Joy merely smiled, as if she'd gotten the reaction she wanted. "Oh, Robert, don't be so naive," Joy scoffed, leaning back in her chair, her voice dripping with venom. "You're a Hollywood star. You know how this world works. Charity is a great way to distract attention. People want the truth. For example, why does your foundation funnel millions through offshore accounts? That's not exactly transparent, is it?" Redford gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles widening. "You're crossing a line, Joy," he said, his voice steady but laced with anger. "My foundation is audited by independent firms. All transactions are documented. You can check them yourself instead of throwing around rumors." "Rumors?" Joy laughed, her laughter cutting through the air like a blade. "Let's be real. There's information suggesting that some of those funds end up in the pockets of your partners. Or maybe even your own. You're not a saint, Robert. Or do you want us all to believe that?" The audience froze, the tension becoming unbearable. A producer backstage signaled Joy to stop, but she ignored him. Redford took a deep breath, his face still calm, but his voice trembled with barely restrained fury. "Joy, I came here to talk about art and good deeds, not to fend off slander. If you have evidence, show it. If not, stop." "Evidence?" Joy leaned closer, her eyes gleaming. What about the fact that your foundation works with questionable organizations? Is that charity too? Or is it just a convenient front for money laundering? The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Some audience members looked shocked, others intrigued. Redford stood slowly, his posture straight, his eyes blazing. Are you done? He asked quietly, his voice cutting like steel. I won't let you demean my work or the people we help for the sake of your ratings. Joy didn't back down. Oh, Robert, don't play the victim. You know how this works. You play to the crowd, and I just ask the questions people want answered. Questions? Redford raised an eyebrow, his voice icy. Those aren't questions, they're accusations. And they're baseless. You want a show? You've got to. Got it. But I'm not going to be part of this circus. The audience gasped, sensing the conflict was reaching a boiling point. A text overlay appeared on the screen. How would you respond to such an accusation? Inviting viewers to reflect. Redford stepped forward, his eyes blazing with anger, but his voice remained steady and resolute. Joy, I've lived a long life, and I know what dignity is. I won't let you or anyone else belittle my work, my reputation, or the cause I believe in for your ratings. You want a scandal? You want a show? But I won't be your clown. You've shown who you really are, a person who uses their platform to tear down, not build up. The audience erupted in applause, but Joy only smirked, trying to maintain control. Oh, Robert, that's cute. But people want the truth, not your pretty speeches. Redford shook his head, his face a mix of disappointment and resolve. The truth? The truth is you're not looking for it. You're chasing drama. And I won't play by your rules. He turned to the audience. If you want to know where my foundation's money goes, check our reports. Talk to the families we've helped. But don't believe those who use lies for their own gain. With that, he unclipped his microphone and dropped it on the table. The audience froze, then exploded into applause. Joy opened her mouth to speak, but her voice was drowned out by the noise. Redford turned and walked off the stage, leaving the studio in stunned silence. Producers scrambled, and Joy, losing her composure, muttered, Well, that was unexpected. This moment became legendary. Robert Redford, a Hollywood icon, stood up to the toxic culture of talk shows, defending his dignity and principles. His walkout wasn't just a gesture, it was a protest against media that thrives on scandal and lies. The event made many reflect, where's the line between journalism and provocation? Is a reputation worth sacrificing for ratings? Subscribe to not miss more stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did Robert Redford do the right thing by walking off the set, or should he have stayed to fight? Were Joy Behar's accusations justified, or was it just provocation for attention? Why do talk shows resort to personal attacks for ratings? Share your thoughts in the comments. After Robert Redford's explosive exit from the spotlight stage in Part 1, the world held its breath, wondering what would happen next. The Hollywood legend, known for his dignity and commitment to his principles, had challenged provocative host Joy Behar, who tried to tarnish his charitable foundation for Ukraine with accusations of money laundering. This moment, which shook the media, became more than a scandal. It was a symbol of resistance against the toxic culture of talk shows. What happened after Redford left the studio? Could Joy regain control of the situation? And how did this conflict change them both? Watch until the end to see how this unprecedented drama unfolded, and share your thoughts in the comments. The Spotlight studio was left in deafening silence after Robert Redford dropped his microphone and walked off. The harsh spotlights now seemed too bright, illuminating Joy Behar's bewildered face. Her cold smile had vanished, replaced by a barely concealed grimace. The audience, still buzzing from the shock, whispered among themselves, while producers backstage exchanged panicked glances. The cameras, still rolling, captured every moment, Joy's nervous fidgeting as she tried to compose herself and the empty chair where Redford had just sat. The tension in the studio was palpable, as if the air had thickened with unspoken words. Everyone waited to see what the host would do. Would she admit defeat or double down? Joy Behar turned sharply to the camera, her voice trembling but quickly regaining its signature bravado. "Well, it seems Robert Redford couldn't handle the heat," she said with a forced smile, addressing the audience. "But that just proves I hit a nerve, doesn't it?" The room erupted in a mix of murmurs. Some laughed, others whispered indignantly. The camera zoomed in on her face, catching a glint of defiance in her eyes. She was clearly trying to spin the situation in her favor, painting Redford as someone dodging the truth. But the audience was restless. Redford's supportive applause still echoed, and some shouted, "Shame!" Backstage, producers frantically debated whether to cut the broadcast. One signaled Joy to change the topic, but she ignored him, leaning closer to the camera. "Let's be honest," she continued, her voice sharper. "People like Robert Redford are used to being coddled. But when it comes to tough questions, about offshore accounts, shady transactions, or how his foundation might be exploiting Ukraine's crisis for profit, they just run." The audience erupted in outrage. Someone shouted, "Enough lies!" Joy raised a hand to calm the room, but her voice was losing confidence. "It's not lies, it's questions that deserve answers," she exclaimed. "Your Hollywood darling isn't as saintly as you think. There are documents showing his foundation funneled millions through companies tied to offshore accounts. Want to know where your donations go? Ask him." A screen behind her displayed archival footage, Redford at a charity event in Ukraine, hugging children and delivering aid. The contrast between her accusations and these images was stark, swaying the audience toward Redford. A co-host, a younger man named Trevor, tried to intervene. "Joy, maybe we should move on to the next topic? We still have time to discuss the film." But Joy cut him off sharply. "No, Trevor, we're not done. People deserve to know if their donations are going to a good cause or just a money laundering scheme." The audience roared again, this time with anger directed at Joy. Someone from the back shouted, "You're just chasing ratings." Trevor gave an awkward smile, trying to defuse the situation, but the tension in the studio reached a new peak. The cameras captured every detail: sweat on Joy's brow, nervous glances from the crew, and the empty chair mocking her. A text overlay appeared on the screen. "Do you think Redford should have stayed to address Joy's accusations?" At that moment, Robert Redford unexpectedly returned to the studio. His entrance sparked a thunderous wave of applause. He walked with his head held high, ignoring the flashing cameras. Joy, visibly thrown, jumped up from her chair. "Mr. Redford, you're back," she said, trying to regain control. "We were hoping you'd clarify the situation." Redford stopped center stage, his eyes burning with anger. "Joy, I didn't come back to justify myself to you," he said, his voice low and firm. "I came back to tell the truth. My foundation, Light of Hope, does everything it can to help people in Ukraine. Every penny is documented, every transaction audited. Your accusations are slander, and I won't let you use another country's tragedy for your show." The audience erupted in louder applause. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Redford pressed on, his voice growing stronger. "You crossed the line, accusing me of money laundering and fraud. That's not journalism, it's bullying. I've dedicated my life to creating art and helping people, and you're trying to destroy my reputation for a spectacle. But I won't let you win." He turned to the audience, his eyes blazing with resolve. "You want the truth? It's out there for everyone. Check my foundation's reports. Talk to the families we've helped. But don't sit here and listen to lies that fuel hatred and cynicism. I'm not playing your game." With that, Redford ripped off his microphone and dropped it on the table before Joy. The studio exploded in ovation, and Joy sat stunned, her face pale. She tried to speak, but her words drowned in the applause. Redford walked off decisively, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Producers scrambled, and Joy, trying to salvage the moment, turned to the camera. "Well, that was dramatic, wasn't it?" Her voice wavered, but she clung to her bravado. The audience wasn't listening. They stood, chanting Redford's name. The cameras caught Joy closing her eyes briefly, as if trying to collect herself. This confrontation became a turning point not just for the spotlight but for talk show culture as a whole. Robert Redford, walking off the stage, left behind a legacy of dignity and principle. His words about truth, transparency, and respect for those his foundation helps resonated with millions. Joy Behar, who tried to exploit his reputation for ratings, faced a wave of criticism that forced many to question the boundaries of journalism. This moment showed how far media can go for attention and made viewers ask, are ratings worth such a price? Days after the broadcast, Redford's foundation released a detailed report confirming the transparency of all financial operations. Public reaction largely sided with Redford, social media exploded with support, and the hashtag #StandWithRedford went viral. Joy Behar faced backlash for her tactics, leading to public apologies from the show's producers. This event became a lesson in the power of dignity and the danger of reckless accusations. Subscribe to not miss more stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Has this changed your view of talk shows? What would you have done in Redford's or Joy's place? Let us know. Did Robert Redford do the right thing by walking off, or should he have stayed to fight to the end? Do you think Joy Behar was just chasing ratings, or did her accusations have merit? How would you react to such an attack on your reputation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and give a like if you support Redford's stance.